This class is titled Imagination is Your Superpower, and it's really important that you understand this because you've been programmed to believe the opposite. You've been programmed to believe that it's all in your mind and it's all fantasy, it's all make-believe, and that's a lie, okay? So when I teach our students, I set them straight on this, and I know people still struggle because of the programming, but you need to understand, first of all, how your mind is constructed and why there is a difference between you deliberately visualizing something, okay, like in your mind, right, creating it. So right now, if I told you to, I don't know, maybe I gave you some silly assignment like to invent a new car. Like, what would your car look like, right? Maybe it would have 3 wheels instead of 4. Maybe it would be double decker, like a double decker bus or whatever. So can you imagine if you're doing that, right? If you took me on this assignment and said, okay, I'm gonna create in my mind this crazy looking car. Okay, that is you using your physical mind to do that, right? Because you're doing it consciously on purpose, right? That's you, therefore, creating it. That is not, it is your imagination, yet it isn't. Because the imagination we're talking about is what comes into your mind, just comes in without you bidding it to, without you reaching out for it to, right? You just allow it to come in. It just happens. It may happen in response to a question you ask. Okay, it happens for me. If I ask a question, something comes in. Okay, but that's not the physical, logical mind, right? Unless you're a person who has trained your mind to do all that for you. In other words, you expect your physical mind to be intuitive, which it isn't, because it can't do that. It's here on the ground of 3D physical reality. It doesn't see above the surface, right? So it's like not on the mountaintop, seeing the bigger picture of your life and seeing what's coming. Your higher self, your intuition knows your soul's plan. It knows what the next best step is for you in the next second, literally. Physical mind has no clue, zero, right? If you ask it to do that for you, it'll make some shit up based on the past because that's all it knows. It only knows what already happened and what's happening right now. So your physical logical mind is just a perceiver of your experience. And it will catalog, if you will, right, what happened in this life, not in any other. So don't get to thinking like, oh, maybe my physical mind knows my past lives. Sorry, it has no clue because that information comes from your higher mind. Your higher mind is connected to your soul, your spirit, the greater part of you. That's why it's 100% psychic. That's why you, my friend, are 100% psychic, whether you believe it or not, because you're plugged into your soul through your higher mind, right? So part of, I would say, really living your best life is understanding the dynamics at play, because otherwise you're just thinking that your physical mind is a source of everything when it's, I'm sorry, it's an idiot when it comes to planning what is really for your highest good, because again, it's zero psychic. So it doesn't know. So if you ask it, well, would it be better for me to move to Denver or New York City? It'll just give you some baloney regurgitated based on maybe something you read or something somebody told you or something it's just assuming is right for you. It doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it's true at all. It could coincidentally, accidentally land on, the right answer, but more than likely, no, because your intuitive answer is often something. Here's the thing: a lot of times, not all the time, but many times, the intuitive answer is illogical. illogical if you were to look at it based on the past and analyze it that way. Your intuitive answer might defy that, and your logical mind would argue with you like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what? I don't know about that. Plus, it's programmed for fear, your logical mind. So your higher mind speaks to you through your imagination, and it feels like you're making it up when you're not. When the ideas, the visions, the feelings, okay, even like messages that you may feel like you heard, maybe audibly or inaudibly, like in your mind, like a voice talking in your mind, that sounds like you. That isn't you. It's the greater you, okay, but it's not the physical you. Okay, so if you hope to start leveraging your imagination for what it's here to do, which is to be your superpower, to help you access your higher guidance, to actually help you connect to loved ones and guides on the other side, and all that good stuff that spiritually people are seeking, you've got to reprogram yourself and understand that imagination is a gift that you've been given, that we've all been given, and that you were talked out of it when you were a kid. You know how many kids actually do see spirit? They see spirit and don't maybe always, admit to it, or maybe they don't know it, but they may tell their parents. Our son did. He'd say, "Dad, don't sit there." This was on my son's bed. And Alan would go, "Well, why?" He goes, "Because you're going to sit on one of them." Like, because he was seeing spirits. And he said, "You don't want to sit on that person." And we knew he was telling the truth because our son just wasn't, one to make stuff up. And I knew that he was seeing the other side. So he was seeing spirits a lot. And that's why he was a lot of times afraid, because he didn't know who they were. So of course he's like, who the heck are they? But as long as he was near us, he was fine. So kids are naturally plugged into imagination. You and I were when we were little, because when you're little, you are still connected more to the other side. It's not till you get to be about 9, 10, 11, like going into, preteen and that you kind of let that go. And this is okay, because kids want to be accepted and be, quote, normal. Our son kind of doesn't remember that he could talk to his angels and saw spirits, but he's opening back up to that now. So it's okay. But so I want you to think about that. Like, all that's real. It's not like these kids, or that you, if you felt or saw things, that you were making it up. It was real. Children are more blended still with the energy of the other side until they get older. And again, around 8, 9, 10, something we're in that range. But many of them will say, matter of factly, like our son did, he'd say, "Oh, there's a dead person, Mom." And then he'd go back to playing. And I'd go, "What?" Like, what happened? And he'd always said, "Oh, there's a ghost over there." And then he'd go back to doing what he was doing. He was just like giving me this commentary. "Oh yeah, there's a spirit there." Well, there are adults that still see spirits that never drop that, and all that's real. Okay. So here is how that communication works, because it's always happening to all of us. I didn't understand it until my husband passed away and started like talking to me and other people and showing me things, and I'd see him in my mind's eye. So and today we're going to quickly do an exercise with you, okay, just to get you used to this, because I want you to understand that this is so normal. Please, please do not believe any psychic or medium who tells you, "Oh, mediumship is a rare gift." That is just a crock. You were born psychic because you are a soul. Okay. The only difference between you and some so-called medium, even if they are genuine, and I know there are genuine ones out there because some of them are my friends, but no matter, okay, the only difference is that they came here to perhaps do that as their mission. Not all of them, okay, because there's a lot of fake ones right now. And the difference between them and you is that maybe that's not your mission, right? Like you're not here to be a professional medium, but I've got news for you. You are here to be a medium for those you love in the spirit world, by nature of being a soul that's in a body, because that's part of your equipment, so to speak, right? It's just you don't believe it. But the minute you start understanding, wait, this is a normal part of being human, okay, then I am really more than human, because I'm a spirit being, not a physical one. I'm a spirit being, an energy being who has a body temporarily, but I live forever. And therefore, when I connect to my higher self, and yet let my physical mind help me navigate physical world, that's all it's here for. It's really just here to help you, like, not crash your car, into somebody standing on the street or something, because it's here to observe reality, right? If it doesn't do that, you would run the stop sign and all that, right? So it literally is just here for that, to observe what's happening, keep you safe, so that because it sees this world, right? Your higher mind doesn't see this world in that way, and it cannot respond in that way, because the physical mind is a part of you that makes decisions based on incoming data, like incoming either guidance it's getting when you're tuned in, when your two minds are working as one, or when your higher mind just comes in strong and gives you this knowing to do something, and your physical mind says, okay, I'm going to do that. Like, but the physical mind's the one that makes the decision. Okay, the physical mind decides to take the action or doesn't take the action. Okay, but you are of two minds, literally. And if to only operate from your logic is to be a half wit, okay, you don't want that. Because if you're a half wit, that's when life gets really messy. That's when you open up to all kinds of disasters. You make poor decisions. You are lost, confused, because you're half connected to who you really are. You want to be a whole person, you have to start trusting your higher mind, which speaks to you through your imagination, also through emotion, okay? That feelings of joy, curiosity, fascination, right? All those positive emotions. Like I know you've had moments in your life where you just said, this just feels right to me. I don't know why. I just feel good about this, right? Like, let me know in the chat, like, have you had a moment like that where this just feels good? This just feels right. And I don't know. I think I'm going to go with this. Or maybe you didn't go with it. And if you didn't go with it, you probably realize, oh God, why didn't I go with it? Why didn't I trust my feeling? Because that's how it works, right? That can be a message from your higher self. Where do you think that comes from? It doesn't come out of the blue. It doesn't. If somebody mentions something to you, I'll give you an example. I was doing readings for years, and then a client comes in, and he's a realtor, and we're having a great reading, and he's loving the reading, and I'm talking to him, and I like him and all this. And then he says, well, maybe you should go into real estate. And I felt, to my shock, this curiosity. And I said, well, maybe I'll look into it. My logical mind was going, why would you do that? We're literally going, why would you do that? By my intuition, my feeling says, right, I because I know what that feels like, would go, yeah, but this sounds interesting to me. This is, and that was it. It was an illogical decision. And my husband Alan at the time was like, why are you doing that? I said, I don't know. But I know I'm going to follow the positive impulse, follow my passion, follow my excitement. And if you read our book, that back there, you know that it led to me saving his life, because it led to me eventually getting health insurance that he didn't have at the time. And Alan apparently had heart disease and would have died of a heart attack shortly if I hadn't gotten insurance somehow. And he could have an operation that would have cost us tens of thousands, probably $100,000, and the money we didn't have. But because we had AAA level insurance, we paid maybe $1,000. Okay. But all that was set up by my higher self. I didn't know that at the time. But when working with clients, I see that in so many cases where people have been guided or were being guided, but then ignored it, going with their logic. And then their life just kind of blew up, derailed. And then they had to regroup. And I said, look, you need to trust your intuition. That's the only way actually people succeed in life. Truly, truly, because that's the spiritual edge, if you will, because your higher mind, again, is on the mountaintop or on the roof, whatever analogy you want to say, and they have the higher view than your physical mind that just operates on the ground floor. It only sees this world. Higher mind knows your soul's plan. It knows what you came here for. It knows who you really are. It knows your destiny, like what you have pre-planned, and it's trying to guide you to that. It really is. And it's already got everything in hand for you. Seriously, it's got everything under control. And the only reason life really just goes off the rails for people is because they're not listening, because they're trying to apply logic. If you talk to many successful people, they will at some point admit to you that they trust their gut, they trust their intuition. They're not going to necessarily go on board and say, oh yeah, I know I'm psychic and I go with that, right? Because they don't want anybody to think they're crazy. But if you really talk to them, like I've met many of them, and they'll go, oh yeah, I trust my intuition. That's why I've succeeded. Now, it doesn't mean they never shed a tear, they never had a challenge, because we've signed up for some of those, okay? But it means that they haven't created unnecessary trauma and challenge, okay? Because that you can avoid, but only if you're following your guidance and you're not letting your physical mind run your life. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, let me know in the chat. That makes sense to you. I'm just reading some of your comments here. I'm missing some of it. Okay. Susan, who's in our academy, saying, I'm surprised that after 2 years, my mind is still filled with thoughts of Rob. I never have to think about him. I'm already thinking about him. The moment I wake up, he's in my mind. Is my mind in control, or is Rob blending with me? That, my friend, because Susan, like many of us in the academy, are connecting with partners. Also, people in our academy are connecting with, sons and daughters and mothers and, sisters and brothers. But when it comes to partners, especially, can be with everyone. I'm not saying only partners, but because a partnership relationship is more of a emotional merge. And again, it can be with other people too. It can be with siblings and parents. I'm not saying the only ones. I'm just saying more usually. Okay. So it's like you're not the same soul, but it's like they're so connected to you that they're part of you. Right? They're part of you. They're just there. And they will at times step back to give you space if you need it. Alan does that for me. I see other spirits doing that for their loved ones too. They'll step back. It doesn't mean because they know they don't have to be always so blended. Okay. But here's where they're communicating through imagination too. Okay. The same as your higher mind, your higher self, the same as guides and angels. They communicate by giving you sensations. It could be physical, emotional. It could be, again, a thought that comes into your mind, a song that drops into your mind, a new song, or a song that had meaning for both of you or one of you, or maybe a new song altogether that has a message for you. Okay. Where do you think that comes from, people? Have you ever wondered? like, why did this song come into my head? Like, I had that experience with Alan when he passed over, because the next day he put the theme song from the movie Ghost, Unchained Melody, the orchestral version, in my mind. I heard it playing in my mind and I knew it wasn't me. And I remembered, oh yeah, that was the first movie you and I ever saw together after we met. Kind of foreshadowed our life in a sense. And so I went and looked for the song on YouTube, found it, and played it all that day and felt him come in on that song. Okay. But how do you think that happened? It wasn't like, well, he said he could have said, Unchained Melody in my mind, but I'd probably go, what? Like, what does that mean, right? I don't, but when he just put the song, which by the way, Spirit is very easy to do for them. Put the song in your mind, have it play in your mind. He's showing me now, like, yeah, we have a record player in heaven, and we just broadcast it to you. But they can put that in your mind. Spirits can do that. They talk to people. I want to give you an example of that too, about the idea that they just come in through imagination, and that ordinary people who don't understand this can be getting these messages. Like recently, I was just reviewing this conversation I had with this psychic medium in Australia who's featured in our book. I wrote about her. Her name is Jean. That's not her real name, but I told this true story, and I was watching the conversation I had with her on Zoom, and this is just before we started writing the book, and she was reminding me that when I was talking to her, that because she could see spirit and she could see what Alan was doing. And I don't want to go through the whole story. I will share it on YouTube at some point because it's quite amazing. But she could see that he was walking the halls of this hospital, okay, because he was helping her niece's baby who had been born, and the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. They didn't even understand how could he be alive, literally, because of his state of his health. He should have been dead. But she had called in Alan to help him, to help this baby, not necessarily cure him, but to live longer, okay? To live as long as this little baby could, because this baby wanted to connect with its parents. So she saw Alan walking up and down the hallway of the hospital. And she said, he's trying to like find somebody who will listen to him, meaning clairaudiently, right? Like that he could talk to them. And she said she saw him. She said he's just walking all around, and he's dressed in his gray suit, which he wears when he goes to the hospital. I know it's funny, but that's his uniform. And she could see him walking, and she saw him stop, and he says to her, like, I think I found, this doctor who, and the doctor was, she said she saw the doctor stand there like he was thinking. And the next thing they knew, the doctor, started working on the baby in a different way. And Ellen said, I think we got it, because he planted the idea in the doctor's mind of what to look for. Okay. And so that doctor got more involved with the baby, because at this point in the beginning, the doctors were like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. They were so confused. But when that first doctor got more involved, then other doctors got involved. And soon there was a whole bunch of doctors that were helping this little baby. And so now things were rolling. Okay. But see, that's how the spirit world works. People get these ideas, not out of the blue, but because someone non-physical goes, hey, oh, this person's open. I'm going to plant the seed in this person's mind. And that's all it takes. And then the others, Alan's now saying to me, then the other doctors who got involved, now they were more on board because the first one drew them in, right? And so Alan could then kind of interject with them too. Yeah, check this, look at that, evaluate this. And so I'm just trying to show you that everybody, not just doctors, everyone's getting input from the other side. They just don't understand that that's what's going on. Because he's saying, remember, they're not some faraway place. Everything exists right here, right now. They just don't have a body. right? And they're still trying to do what they can to help us because they can, and if we're willing and we're open and we invite them in, they will. Or if that was the soul agreement to help a loved one or somebody, then of course they will, right? Because, well, I agreed to do this. And so, I'm going to do my best, right? But see how that happens is like, they have to just give that person an idea. And then they go look based on the idea they get, and they realize, oh yeah, that's the answer, that's the solution, or this is the next piece that I need to, dive into. But that's imagination, folks. Okay. That's not the person's logical mind going, well, I know what to do. Now, that might have been the appropriate solution, but usually not, because Alan said at that point, those doctors had kind of used up all the logic that they had in their medical toolkit, because this baby, later they would say, they repeated Alan's statement in the beginning. Alan said, this baby is going to be declared a miracle, the magical miracle baby or something. And indeed, months later, they said that. They said, we don't know how this baby could have even lived like 5 months. He should have been dead within weeks of his birth because of all the things that were wrong. And yet things just kept healing, things kept changing, it was like they just couldn't figure out, how is this baby still living? And they were astonished. Okay. So, but that's how imagination works. And doctors are not going to tell you that. They're going to say, oh yeah, I got my breakthrough by imagining. That's not imagining it like creating it. That's like letting the imagination deliver, right? Deliver, be the throughway, the superhighway that brings the information, brings the communication in, brings the contact in. I'm so glad that I found this video again, because she reminded me of something that quite profound that I had forgotten. This is 4 years ago. This video is almost 4 years old. And she said that Alan was trying to help me to feel him using my imagination. Okay. And I had kind of set that aside, and he was okay with that, because at this point, when I was talking to her, I was happy. And I hadn't been happy for the most of our marriage, and certainly hadn't been happy after the grieving, right? And so he was like, okay. But in the video, it was really interesting, because I told her, well, I set that aside. She goes, that's okay. You are going to come back to it at some point. And he's fine with that. But he says she needs to practice that. If she can feel me, everything else will open up. Like everything else will open up. And it's just about using your imagination. Okay. Because when you use your imagination, you're meeting them halfway between this world and the next. Because remember, it's the super highway to the other side. No one goes to the afterlife without going through their imagination, going through their energy body, going out of, leaving the physical body. Their consciousness goes into that higher realm through the imagination. So do not ever discount what just comes into your awareness all of a sudden. Okay. Your logical mind, you're going to have to learn to ignore its ranting. And it's telling you that doesn't make sense, or you're imagining it. Okay. You're going to have to understand that it believes that's its job, is to keep you here in the physical world, to keep you from venturing beyond it. Okay. So if you don't understand that the physical mind is going to give you fear and doubt, and that you need to ignore it if you hope to explore the spirit world. If you don't understand that, then you're never going to get anywhere, because this is what happened to most people. They just start thinking they're making it up, and you might as well shut the door to the other side and just get on with living just in the physical world. because you have to, not like optional, you have to start getting really comfortable with your imagination and trust it and build on it and use it. Like Gina reminded me, she said, one way to do that is to imagine that you were like a child again, but not the child that you were, when you were a kid, right? Like this, but this higher version child of you that is fearless and is joyous and is just exploring everything, is having fun with everything, and doesn't doubt themselves, doesn't question anything, just knows that it's safe, that everything's good, right? And it just plays and trusts what it perceives, what they perceive, and goes all in and enjoys it, has that playful attitude. That will take you far. But most people can't, have a hard time doing that. Yeah, Peggy says imagination always was discounted. Well, remember, other people were taught that. So they're just passing on what they were taught. They don't know any better. They're just telling you that's what they were taught, and then that's what we're teaching you. And then maybe you were teaching that to your kids. I mean, I never taught that to my kid, right? And my kid is a natural medium. But most people, that's what they're taught. Now, I don't remember my parents ever telling me that specifically, but you just have to, it's not just your parents, it can also be society at large. You go to school or your friends, all that, correct? So if all that, people are allowing themselves to be programmed, part of spiritual awakening is evaluating the beliefs you're holding. Because most people never do that. They never give a thought to, why do I believe what I believe? Is it really true what I believe? Where did I get this belief anyway? They just take it on and say, well, this is what my family believes, and okay, this is what I believe, or this is what my society believes, or my friends believe, whatever, correct? But that doesn't make it true, because here's the thing that no one's told you. All beliefs are true, and all beliefs are false. I want you to think about that. A belief is basically an opinion. Oh, this is how the world works. This is how people should behave. This is how life should be, or this is what values are best to have, whatever, fill in the blank. Okay. That's not a law of creation. That's just the agreements that you've made to say, well, this we believe to be true, whether it's, Alan's saying to me, whether it's the Constitution, which looks like it's kind of being blown up right now in our country, but still it's just a belief, whether you agree with what's in the Constitution or you want some other cockamamie government, whatever. It's all just belief, isn't it? It's just say, we want to agree to live this way based on these rules, these amendments, these laws, these beliefs. Okay. You can change all that. It's not like that's written in stone and that is the law of the universe. You are a limitless being that can choose to create the life they prefer based on what you came here to, explore. Right. Yeah, there's social laws that you and I have to agree to. We're not saying you should break the laws. I'm just saying that, remember, those are just made up. They're not like universal laws, right? They're just like, okay, we agree to these laws in this country or this other country may have different laws, correct? So beliefs are like that. It's like, choose the beliefs that work for you. Examine what beliefs you have, because here's the way to start. Look at what area of your life are you struggling, whether it's relationship, money, health, whatever. There probably is a limiting belief that's under the underpinning of that, that's creating this dissonance, this conflict within you. because you're meant to live a full and rewarding life that you create. Now, again, you may have come in to experience a certain theme, meaning like some people could be here to explore the absence of love, right? And you, okay, we teach more about that in the academy. This is kind of going deep, but because they want to experience the contrast, because there's a lot to be gained by going into the contrast and coming out the other end and going, okay, now I really know what love is not. That really heightens my understanding of what love really is, because I see it more vividly with the contrast. Whereas if you had a candle out in the sun in your garden at midday, you'd barely see it, right? Like the candle lit. But at night, at midnight, when there's a new moon and there's no light, that candle burns bright. And you really get the experience the light, don't you? So that is why we come to their plane, to have the contrast, to really experience vividly, intensely, something like what love is not, and then what love is, what peace is not, and what peace really is, on all that. So using your imagination is your superpower, because if you leverage it and you understand that this is how your higher mind is guiding you, how your guides and your loved ones are communing with you, are trying to share life with you, because they are still alive and growing and evolving. They didn't transition, and now they're what's like one of my friends was a channeler. He would joke and say, like, people think that you die and you go up to heaven and you sleep on a cloud. You're just sleeping on a cloud. That's all you're doing, they're floating around sleeping on a cloud. And I really, really can't stand what people say, which I understand where they're coming from, to let them rest in peace. And I go, what are you talking about? They are in peace, but they're very active. They're not like, again, asleep on a cloud. They're still learning and growing and exploring and becoming more. So when we connect through the veil in these relationships, we're giving them the most extraordinary experience of supporting us in our evolution while they are evolving. And Alan has said, if people just understood that the other side not only welcomes this, they relish it. It's like, wow, what a rare gift my loved one is giving me, to let me be part of their life while I'm in spirit, to be with them here, like to be in both places because they can be. How beautiful is that? Whereas most people have just moved on and grieving for the rest of their life in many cases, okay, because they believe they had to let them go. And so if they believe I have to let my loved one go, then they're not going to be paying attention to the communication that's coming through. And so what's loved one's going to do, or even guides, they'll just say, okay, well, we're back off, because there's no point. There's no point in kind of giving the person messages when the person isn't acting on any of them. And that's how the spirit world works. It's like, okay, well, if they ever decide, I'll be here. But in the meantime, they're just there. They're not active. But once you become more willing to explore this and you are open to it, then more will come. But spirit, I know how spirit is, because they've said to me, if we give you one message and you don't take action on it the best way you can, as best you can, right? Why would we give you another one? Why would we? You kind of have to complete the first message or the first guidance, and then another piece will come. And I know that to be true, because it's happened to me over and over and over. They'll go, do this first, and then you do that. Okay, now this now. Or you might have to wait a while. It can't be like, here it is all at once. Okay. So let's get you experiencing your real imagination, which is connecting to the other side. And it is as simple as this. And I want you to know, Alan is here helping you. I got kind of really reminded watching that video because Genevieve was saying, she was saying, oh my God, he's so strong over here. She said, it's because of you, Pam, because the two of you are anchoring these energies in a way. Your relationship is unique, and you're able to anchor like heaven and earth through each other. She's described it like I was part of this column, and so was Alan. And the column, around the column was both the physical world and the afterlife, and that we were interacting with both, like individually and together. And that she said, and this is what we were forming to help other people to form their own bridges. So what I want to do right now, because he's going to help you, he's going to help your loved one. He says your guides don't need so much help, but your loved ones do. Okay, now take it back. Now he's saying some of your guides might need help. But he's going to do what he can on his end, on the spirit world end, to help them project a little more strongly, because I didn't know this, but he told me shortly after he crossed over, he says, not all of them are able to come through strongly. Some can, amazingly, incredibly so. But he says that's not usual. A lot of them need to learn. Okay, they need to learn how to do this. And so they're all at different levels in their learning. But he's going to help them to come through. And he's teaching them. She said too, he was teaching the other side to do this. And that was his work. And that's why he left when he did, because he said we were meant to do this together at this time of the awakening, and we couldn't do it when he was in a body. Okay, so he's going to help your loved one. And I'm going to guide you in a moment. But what I want you to do is suspend your disbelief. Just let it go. And understand that as I guide you, in the moment I invite you to call in wherever in the spirit world you want to connect with. That doesn't have to be a loved one. It could be your guide. Okay, even if you don't know who your guide is, it doesn't matter. They don't necessarily have names anyway. You could say, I just want to connect with my spirit guide, my main guide, whoever. And it can be anyone, family member who's crossed over, if you're talking about loved ones in spirit, anybody, okay? But when I lead you through this, I want you to notice what happens. And don't worry, I'm going to walk you through this, but I just want you to trust whatever you experience, okay? Don't second guess it. Don't doubt it. It could happen like a flash, like a momentary thing, a quick impression. It could be a sound. It could be a word. It could be you feel something. But whatever happens, as soon as I guide you through this and I say, notice what you notice, I want you to just trust it. Okay. If whatever you experience, you don't quite understand, like you got a message or something, it's okay for you to internally say to spirit, like, what does that mean? Or can you repeat that? Or are you saying XYZ? In other words, I want you to understand that the universe is interactive. This is not a passive experience. We just sit there and go, oh, I'm waiting for a message and I'm just going to wait for it to land. And when it comes in, if I don't understand it, I'll just leave the session confused and go, well, I don't understand what that meant. You can ask. There's no harm in asking. You might not still understand it even then, but that's okay, because eventually you will. Okay. But I want you to be more proactive rather than passive. And that's why you can use your imagination to reach them halfway and they'll take over. But that's a topic for another class. But you can use that anyway. All right. All right. So I'm going to guide you in a minute. Just get relaxed wherever you are. Okay. Get comfortable. And if you have notifications on your phone or something, turn those off. You don't want to be disturbed. Or if you are, you can just come back and repeat this again, right? So get comfortable and close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. One more time, breathe in through your nose. Exhale through your mouth and let go all of your stress, all of your concerns and worries. Let it all go. Take another breath in. Release any energies on the out breath. Release any energies, emotions, anything that doesn't belong to you. Let it go. Anything that belongs to others that you're carrying, let it go. Let it go. Take another breath in. And as you exhale, I'd like you to repeat after me. I am one with all that is. I am one with all that is. I am one with all that is. Take another breath in. Exhale. And again, repeat. I am one with all that is. I am one with all that is. I am one with all that is. And let those words just sink into your body. Whenever you feel stressed, I encourage you to repeat those words, for they are the highest truth. You're reminding your body and yourself that you're one with all that is, with Source, with God, with all of creation. That is the pure truth. One more time, take a breath in and exhale and repeat to yourself, I am one with all that is. I am one with all that is. I am one with all that is. And now, feeling relaxed, I'd like you to imagine that you're expanding your energy field just through the power of your intention. You're expanding your non-physical energy body, which expands your energy field, like you're stretching yourself outward. You're opening yourself up to the energies around you, feeling completely secure and safe and in harmony with yourself and all of creation. In this state of alignment with who you truly are, nothing that doesn't match your true vibration can get in. So align with Source, align with love, centered in your true self. And in this state of connection, call out to whoever it is in the spirit world that you would like to communicate with, that you would like some sort of message or a sign from. It can be a guide, it can be a loved one. Just call them out in your mind. Okay, say, reach out to them and just say, I want to connect with you. That's all you're saying right now. And now just trust and believe that connection is made simply because you asked for it. And now I want you to ask the question you have of them. It could be that you just want to know if they have a message for you. That's fine. You could say, do you have a message for me? But if you do have a question, ask your question. You could ask them, is there something that you want me to know? Or can you tell me something that will happen? Spirit cannot always make predictions accurately, but sometimes there's something that's strong likelihood of happening that they could tell you that is appropriate to tell you. So just ask for whatever your question is, all right? As soon as you ask it, I want you to notice what happens next. What do you feel physically, emotionally? What do you hear? Audibly or inaudibly? What do you just know? What do you see in your mind's eye? What do you smell? What do you taste? If you're not sure, you can start again. Ask another question. But I want you to trust the next thing that happens, the next thing that just pops into your awareness. It could be a symbol, a thought of something, a memory. Whatever happens after you ask your question, that is the communication. Okay. So if you got something, can you write in the chat what that is if you feel like it? You don't have to. So the process is to call out to them, invite in who you want to talk to. Okay. Whether you know they're there or not, just believe that they are. As long as you're in a relaxed state, that's key. You're not overly emotional. You're relaxed. You're at least in neutral. You don't have to feel happy. Just have to feel neutral. Okay. So in other words, if you have a lot of negative emotion going on or heavy grief going on, you will not be clear. But if you're at least neutral and open, call out to them, ask your question, trust the next thing that happens. And again, it could be very fleeting. Clairvoyance can be so quick that you barely see what it is. Like I've had that happen where I just saw color, like somebody just flashed a color, and I'm almost not sure that I saw that, except that I know I saw some sort of color, and so that was my answer. So whatever you experience today in this moment, this is the path forward to strengthening your communication and trusting your imagination, is asking for contact from whoever it is you're asking it of, and then asking a question, and then noticing what happens the very next second. Okay. Some of you are so used to your physical mind running it that this will take a more practice for you. But in time, you will see that this is not your logical mind making it up. Okay. It's just because it's psychic impressions are not anything that somebody can reach for, right? Like I'll try to get the message. I'll try to get the information or the experience. There's no trying involved in any of this. If you're putting effort into it, that's physical mind effort, which means you're not in your imagination. You're not in touch with the afterlife if you're doing that. You are trying to make it happen. Spirit communication is about letting it flow into you. It drops into you. There's no trying. It's allowing it to flow to you. The minute, and I know the struggle here because that's Alan struggled with that too. Because he would, he realized as soon as he started doubting himself, then he was closing the door. And if he would just trust and let whatever comes in to come in, he would be spot on. But the minute he start to worry about it, literally, the minute, he's saying the second, the second you start to doubt, you pinch off the connection. That's why the more you can just be light about this, be more playful a little bit, right? I don't mean not take it seriously, but you could be lighthearted, right? Like that's actually the best approach. Like, I'll just see what happens. Just going to see what comes to me because you're not trying. When children are playing, they're not trying to play, right? They're just playing. Oh, this is fun. I'm going to do this. They're not like micromanaging themselves like, well, I hope I play correctly. They're just saying, I'm doing this for fun. Let's just see how it is. Okay. All right. I'm seeing some of you posting. Karen says, I guess you got the message, I love you. And I saw the sky. Peggy says, I felt him on me. I felt the weight and very warm air on me. Even the bed shifted a bit. I'm not surprised. Yes, so that can happen. Betty says, I heard go, baby. I love that. So whatever comes to you, can you please now, Nick, you can do this now, but maybe next time, if you want to do it now, you can, but start writing it in a journal. Write it down. You want more of this? You got to make this real in this world. So keep a little notebook or journal, whatever. It doesn't have to be big, it can be small. And just write down, okay, I asked this question and this is the answer I got, or this is experience I had, right? Because when you do that, you're saying to the universe, oh, this is real. This is important. Because otherwise, why would you write it down? Okay, if you just do this and you don't keep track of it, it won't anchor as much in your reality. It won't form this new world that you want to form. Do you understand? You're building your reality with these building blocks of your imagination. That's how manifestation works. It's thoughts. Thoughts create, but we are in a physical world, so we must take physical action. So when you write something down, that's physical action. Even if you don't understand, like, well, I don't know what this symbol means. By you writing it down, you're saying, I believe this is real or important, even if I don't understand what it means. And it may be revealed to you later. That's how spirits sometimes work. It's like they're giving you a puzzle. And later you'll go, oh my God, I know what that means now. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just write down what you believe it means and move on. But just understand this world is completely interactive. And you are never, ever alone in your space. If you knew all the beings who were with you, some of you would probably like freak out. Don't worry, they respect your privacy. But I'm just saying, you're not alone. You can choose to believe you're alone, and then you will create that experience for yourself. Okay. But only because you are choosing. That's how powerful you are. You choose to believe something like, well, I'm all alone in this world. Then the universe has no choice but to mirror that back to you and make that your reality because you said so. But it is not so, because they'll still be in your space. You just won't be able to pick up on them. So you want to have spirit communication, then believe that spirits are always with you and they're benevolent and they're loving. They're matching your energy. There are no demons except your own inner demons that you may manifest outwardly. That's what demons really are. I'm not saying that they exist but don't exist. They're archetypal energies, but in terms of existing as beings, right, like you and me, no. But your fears, right, your negative emotions can form what looks like to be, it's a demon, but it's yours, not somebody else's. So like I always say this to students, I go, the only real demons are your own inner demons made manifest by you through your beliefs, through your fears, through your attitude, your actions. That's you, because you're actually always interacting on some level with your energy being reflected back to you. Yeah, that's right, Robert. Thanks for sharing that. Robert says, I was told that I'm the creator of my own well-being, so that any questions about my future was in my own hands, right? And you're creating your future every moment. And there are multiple timelines of that future based on what you're choosing to believe, but also what you came here to explore. So I want everybody to understand, sometimes people do have challenging lives, but their soul set it up that way. And I've heard people say, which I understand, people say, why was I so stupid to set it up that way? What made me create this big challenge, right? And I'll just say, you know what? You got to love yourself and just understand you must be a super strong, incredible soul to set up a real challenging situation. Okay. There's nothing stupid about it. It's the ego that is looking at it going, why would I do that? Right. Because as far as the ego is concerned, it wants everything easy and it doesn't want any problems. And it's just afraid. So it's like, I don't want to deal with anything unpleasant, but that's your limited ego. That's not your higher self. Okay, you got to pull more toward that part of you and understand that this life is over in a microsecond of your eternal existence. And you'll return to source, return to the fullness of who you really are, and be contributing all that you learned in this incarnation. Oh, that's great, Debbie. Debbie says, Jeff was love blasting me with his heat and making me cry. He was telling me I'm on the right path with our connection. And Danny says, I felt Rich behind me playing with my hair before we started and felt my antenna go up. Okay, great. All right, well, we're going to leave you with that. We'd like you to practice. And please, since you're in the inner circle group on school, please share what you experience. Please practice this. We mean it. Don't let this be the first and only time, right? The last time. Keep practicing it. Okay. We are going to teach a Learn to Channel masterclass that's going to go way deeper. I keep getting more information. It's going to be more than just, even though just doesn't do it justice. It's not just a channeling class we are going to, of course, go dive deep into channeling loved ones in the spirit world. But there's other practices that I'm going to share that I revisited because of my conversation with Gina, and she reminded me of different things that I was trying to learn in the early days, and we're going to go back there. And I think now it's going to be really exciting. So we're going to open up registration probably Saturday, and we're going to be teaching you to channel your higher self, your guides, your angels before going to loved ones on the other side. And I feel that this is important because you having a strong connection to your higher self and your guides and angels really gives you a solid foundation upon which to build your relationship. So without that, it's not that you can't do it without that, but can you imagine if your connection with your higher self is really rock solid, your guidance, right? Your loved one, they're not really meant to be guiding you like your higher self. They're just not, they're like, they function as another guide in that sense. But you need to really just, Alan says, the word he's giving me is you really need to lock in your bond with your higher self, because that means that you're living intuitively and you're following your passion. And if you're doing that, then you raise your frequency as high as you can go. And that's where life gets good, because then it's more easily for you to connect through the veil. See, so that kind of comes first. Can't just go straight to, I want to connect with my loved one. It's like, no, you got to really get solid with your spirit connection, with your guides and especially your higher self. higher self probably more than even guides and angels, because they'll come in anyway. If you're really in tune with your higher self's guidance, the other things are easy. And certainly it's a lot easier to connect with loved ones on the other side. Do you see what I mean when I say, I've said in the group that I know channeling is superior to mediumship, because mediumship doesn't really anchor somebody with their higher self. Not only that, mediumship teachers are usually not healers, and they don't work on shifting your limiting beliefs like we've been doing in the boot camp, and we will do some of that in the Learn to Channel masterclass. You have to change your frequency. Mediumship doesn't talk about that. I mean, they might now, but Alan says most of them are not healers, and certainly most of them are not working with one teacher in the spirit world and another one in the body. So he says, kind of unique here. So we'll be teaching that. That is going to be, pretty, I don't want to say, oh, he's just telling me it's just going to be off the charts. It's a different level, and it will be our biggest class we've ever taught. So yeah, we're excited for you guys to join us, whoever can join us. But we're going to end it here, put a bookmark here. Please share your stories again in the inner circle group. Okay, let us know how you're doing. And if you have questions about it, you can let me know there. Just kind of tag me, put my name in there, and I'll do my best to answer your question. All right. So we'll see you next time. We'll do this again. If it was fun, let us know it was fun and post in the group. Okay. Because if I don't see you post that it was fun, then I'll assume it wasn't that fun. All right. We'll talk later. Bye-bye.